Before you scroll past this, stop for a brief moment. Inhale slowly and let your body settle into stillness. If you have been feeling more emotional than usual, unusually restless, or suddenly overwhelmed by memories lately, there is a deeper reason beneath that quiet, emotional movement. Someone from your past, or even your present, has been carrying your name within their heart, and the universe is finally beginning to arrange circumstances for a long overdue resolution. What this person has kept buried beneath the surface has never truly released you, and the pressure building inside them is reaching a point where silence can no longer hold. They are preparing to come toward you, not casually, not accidentally, but with a deliberate truth they have carried alone for far too long. If this message already feels familiar deep inside your heart, hit like right now. What they are about to express will honestly surprise you, revealing an intensity of feeling they worked extremely hard to conceal from everyone around them. You may have already noticed subtle signs of this unbroken connection, sudden thoughts about them appearing from nowhere, vivid dreams that felt too real, or unexplained emotions rising without any clear cause. These things are not random accidents. This is what happens in the unseen space between two people whose energies never fully disconnected. While they tried to present the image of moving on and kept themselves busy with distractions, you remained the one presence their mind returned to again and again without warning. On the outside, they appeared completely fine, composed, and unaffected. But internally, they have been replaying old conversations and struggling with an increasingly heavy inner conflict. They keep questioning why nobody else compares to you, and why your memory refuses to leave them no matter how far they attempt to run from it. That realization has forced an uncomfortable clarity upon them, making them finally admit that you mattered in a way they never openly acknowledged. The silence they maintained has become too heavy to continue carrying, and what they are preparing to say is going to touch places inside you that you believed had already closed forever. They did not lose you because the connection lacked meaning. They lost you because they did not know how to properly meet something real or show up for the relationship in the way it deserved. That awareness follows them everywhere now, and if you have questioned why they remained silent for so long, the answer is not indifference. It is fear. Deep, paralyzing fear. They feared you had completely moved on with your life. They feared your emotional strength. More than anything, they feared rejection. But beyond all of that, they were terrified of confronting their own choices and admitting the mistakes their pride spent so long trying to protect. So silence became their refuge, even though keeping everything hidden eventually transformed into its own form of punishment. Recently, something shifted inside them. Maybe it was a brief glimpse of you, hearing something about your life, or a sudden wave of loneliness hitting them in the middle of a crowded room. Whatever triggered it, something inside finally cracked open. A quiet but undeniable realization settled over them that if they stay silent now, they will carry this regret for the rest of their life. This decision is not being made from desperation or temporary emotion. It comes from the heavy understanding of someone who finally realizes honesty is the only path left. They are not returning for meaningless conversation or shallow reconnection. They are coming back to speak the truths they buried beneath ego and allowed pride to silence. The assumption you held that they were completely unaffected is about to be shattered by a reality you never expected to discover. The truth is, they felt everything far more deeply than they ever allowed themselves to reveal. Their feelings for you were never casual, simple, or easy to control. They carried those emotions privately for a very long time, replaying memories repeatedly in their mind, imagining your face, and rehearsing every possible outcome of seeing you again. That silence is finally reaching its end. And when you hear what has truly lived beneath their surface all this time, it will honestly surprise you. Comment ready if you have been sensing someone from your past preparing to return. They are facing an overwhelming uncertainty because they have no idea how you will respond to their words. But they finally understand that the pain of remaining silent has become far heavier than the risk of telling the truth. By lowering the emotional walls they normally hide behind, they want to openly admit that they mishandled things and failed to love you in the way your connection truly needed. Speaking these truths without excuses forces them to let go of the false image they tried to maintain, the image that claimed they were always fine, always unaffected, always in control. Time and distance have stripped away those illusions and exposed what is actually real. Without you there, they finally recognized something undeniable. You were genuinely rare. The consistency, care, understanding, and authenticity you brought into their life could not simply be replaced. Every comparison they encountered afterward only deepened the regret they now carry for not valuing your connection properly when they had the chance. They understand now that what existed between you was never ordinary, nor was it something easily replaced by new people or temporary experiences. Feeling the full weight of that realization has humbled them deeply, while also bringing painful clarity. As they prepare to step toward you again, they are fully aware of the risk involved. They know their vulnerability could meet cold silence or permanent closure from a version of you that is already healed and moved on. Yet living with unspoken regret has finally become more painful than the fear of rejection itself, and that realization is giving them the courage to choose honesty despite the uncertainty. As this meeting approaches, it is important for you to remain grounded in the healing and strength you have built within yourself. Listen carefully. Observe their actions over time. You have fully earned the right to separate genuine transformation from carefully chosen words. When you finally stand in front of this person again, something inside your body will recognize the significance before your mind even has time to process it. A certain emotional weight will fill the space between you, creating a stillness where unspoken truths can no longer remain hidden. This encounter is not meaningless coincidence. It carries a deeper purpose beyond whether reconciliation ultimately happens or not. It is about allowing truth to finally occupy the space it should have occupied long ago. It is about bringing something unfinished to a point of completion. Whatever form this closure eventually takes, it will release the tension both of you have been carrying for far too long. At the center of everything they have been holding inside is one undeniable confession. They never stopped loving you. They tried distractions. They tried replacements. They tried convincing themselves and everyone around them that they had already moved on and made peace with the past. But real love does not disappear simply because circumstances changed or because pride demanded emotional distance. Real love remains. It continues occupying space inside a person until the exhaustion of running from it becomes unbearable. And that hidden truth is now demanding to be spoken openly, directly, and honestly, face to face. Type yes if you want the universe to speed this reunion toward you. After this conversation finally takes place, something real and grounded will begin settling into your reality, where confusion and uncertainty once lived. The suspended state of unanswered questions and lingering emotions will finally begin dissolving, lifting the emotional heaviness that has remained unspoken for far too long. You will finally gain the clarity needed to stabilize your energy and move forward with certainty instead of emotional confusion. Because uncertainty has quietly asked something from you every single day. Even during the moments when you tried to move on. Even during the moments when you convinced yourself it no longer mattered. Uncertainty quietly occupies emotional space, and you have been carrying that weight for much longer than you ever should have needed to. What this meeting offers is the end of that suspension, not necessarily an ending defined by loss, but an ending defined by completion. There is a profound difference between something ending because it slowly fades away and something ending because it has finally been fully seen, fully spoken, fully acknowledged, and brought to its natural conclusion. One leaves behind unresolved questions and loose emotional threads. The other gathers those loose ends together in a way that finally allows you to set them down and breathe again. That is what is being placed in front of you now. And whether this connection transforms into a new beginning or becomes the closure both of you needed all along, the truth finally spoken aloud will change something permanently inside both of you. Because hidden emotions do not disappear simply because they remain unspoken. They continue living beneath the surface, shaping thoughts, influencing choices, and quietly pulling at the heart until they are finally acknowledged. This person has reached the point where pretending no longer works. The emotional walls they spent so much time building are beginning to collapse under the weight of everything they never allowed themselves to say. Every distraction eventually lost its power. Every attempt to escape the connection only brought them back to the same realization. You mattered more than they ever admitted. And now the universe is placing both of you in a position where honesty can finally replace silence. There may still be hesitation in their voice when they approach you. There may still be nervousness in the way they look at you. But beneath all of that will be something undeniable. Truth. Raw, unguarded truth that has waited far too long to finally come into the light. The moment they speak, many things that once felt confusing will suddenly begin making sense. The distance, the silence, the strange emotional pull you could never fully explain. It was never because the connection disappeared. It was because both of you were carrying unfinished emotions in different ways. And when truth finally enters a space where silence lived for too long, everything begins to shift. You are not imagining the energy surrounding this situation. Your intuition has been trying to prepare you. That sudden heaviness in your chest, the unexpected memories, the emotional waves arriving without warning, they are connected to something real unfolding beneath the surface. Because somewhere, at this very moment, someone is gathering the courage to stop hiding from what they feel about you. And very soon, they may no longer be able to hold it inside at all. There is a kind of resolution approaching that is not forced, not imagined, not something created inside your own mind simply to ease the discomfort for a moment, but a resolution that emerges from honesty finally being spoken aloud, from reality being faced openly instead of continuously avoided. And it is important to realize that both possible outcomes carry meaning and value. There is a natural human tendency to place worth only on the outcome that matches desire, the reopening, the continuation, the beginning once again. But the deeper truth is that clarity itself has value no matter what shape it arrives in. If what unfolds from this becomes a new chapter, it will not stand on the same unstable foundation that existed before. It will no longer depend on assumptions, silent expectations, or emotional currents that remained hidden beneath the surface without ever fully being acknowledged. It will instead be built on honesty, on a mutual willingness to recognize what is real, even when that reality feels layered, difficult, or uncomfortable. That type of foundation is stronger, not because it promises ease or perfection, but because it removes the uncertainty that slowly weakens connection over time. And if what arrives is closure, true closure, not the kind you attempt to manufacture for yourself when there was never anything solid to hold on to, then that too carries enormous value. There is a certain peace that only appears when something is finally named for exactly what it is. When the questions that have been circling endlessly through your mind are answered, not with assumptions or interpretations, but with direct honesty, it allows your body, your thoughts, and your emotions to stop searching constantly, to stop revisiting the same memories, trying to uncover hidden meanings or signals you may have missed. It allows you to step out of the exhausting cycle of what if and enter into the steadiness of this is what it is. And from that place, movement becomes possible again. Not forced movement, not the kind where you pressure yourself to move on before you are ready, but natural movement that comes from no longer being trapped by uncertainty. As you enter this conversation, there is a quiet kind of strength in the way you choose to show up. The urge to respond quickly, to fill every silence, to manage the moment so that it feels less uncomfortable. That instinct is understandable, but it is not necessary here. In fact, allowing space may be one of the most powerful things you can do. When someone is finally expressing what they have held inside for a long time, there is often far more beneath the surface than what appears in the first few sentences. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their person still thinks about them. Truth does not always arrive in one perfect statement. Sometimes it unfolds slowly, piece by piece, as someone gathers the courage to finally say what they have avoided saying before. If you interrupt that process, if you move in too quickly with your own emotions, your own reactions, or your own interpretations, you may unintentionally stop the very thing you have been waiting to hear all along. So allow them to speak. Allow pauses to exist. Allow moments where nothing is being said. Silence in a conversation like this is not meaningless. It is part of the unfolding itself. It is where thoughts collect, where honesty begins to take shape, where the deeper truths slowly rise to the surface. And when they are finished, give yourself that same space in return. You do not need to answer immediately. You do not need to have the perfect words prepared. You do not need to mirror the intensity or clarity of everything that was just shared. What matters is not speed and not perfection, but authenticity. Your response should come from the steady part of you, the part that has been shaped by everything you have experienced up until now. The waiting, the confusion, the silent growth that happened internally, while outwardly it may have seemed as though nothing was changing at all. There is a difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is immediate and often fueled by the emotional intensity of the moment itself. Responding is intentional. It comes from a place that has paused long enough to breathe, that has allowed the first emotional wave to settle, that has chosen clarity instead of emotional overwhelm. That is the place you want to speak from. And it is perfectly okay if what you say is simple. It is okay if your words are not perfectly organized or completely resolved. Honesty does not demand perfection. It asks only for presence. Remember that you are not required to create a specific outcome. There is no script you are obligated to follow, no role you must perform in order for this conversation to be meaningful or successful. Success here is not measured by whether things continue or whether they end. Success is measured by whether the truth is finally allowed to be seen and spoken by both people involved. Your responsibility is not to shape the outcome into something more comfortable or desirable. Your responsibility is to honor your own experience, your own emotions, and your own needs with honesty. There is also something important hidden within the very fact that this conversation is happening at all. Being met with truth, especially when it arrives later than you hoped, especially when it costs the other person something emotionally to bring it forward, is not something small. It is not something to dismiss. It is a form of respect. It means that on some level they recognize the significance of what existed between you. It means they see you clearly enough to understand that silence is no longer acceptable. That what existed between you deserves acknowledgement instead of avoidance. Comment shocked if this message gave you chills. That does not erase the cost of the silence you experienced. It does not undo the confusion, the moments where you doubted yourself, the nights you questioned whether you had imagined the depth of what you felt. But it does place those experiences into a different context. It reveals that what you sensed, what you felt, what you believed was there, truly had a basis in reality. You were not inventing something from nothing. You were responding to something real, even if it was not fully expressed at the time.